Hey, Lauren, Michael Imhotep. Okay, we're on the air. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
All right. Excellent, excellent. Okay. Well, look, I wanted to have you on tonight to talk about your book, and I'm not your book, your article that you wrote, and talk about the Super Tuesday results. And I shared your article last night with my listeners. Very, very good article. I think I was one of the first people who read it because it was posted like 3 a.m. on March 1st, and I was up like 5 in the morning reading it. So, because I had not been to bed yet. Yeah. So, but it's a type of article that people need. We're coming up on commercial break here in a minute, so we're gonna get into this on the other side of the break. Um, but what has been the response so far to it? Oh, okay. The one from the root.com, Bernie versus Hillary. Who's better for black voters?
Yeah, that because of course, anytime you talk about, uh, the Clinton crime bill and what both of them were doing at the time, there's a ton of reaction just on the subject of the Clinton crime bill alone. So that article has gotten a lot of attention, to say the least. Um, it's pretty amazing. I mean, most people I think feel like it's fairly fair because I don't go after one harder than the other. It's kind of a coin
Right,
flip
right. It's
between
pretty
both of
well
them.
balanced.
Right. Yeah. And so there's that. And so there's been some really good reaction to it. There has been some really good reaction. I think people were surprised because I think people are expecting you to go more after Hillary because of the Clinton crime bill. But the fact of the matter is neither one of them have been particularly amazing when it comes to the black agenda.
Right, exactly, exactly. Okay, stand
In
by.
terms of
Okay, stand by. We got to go to commercial break. Just stand by, okay? And
okay.
let me see something here. Just do me a favor. Just mute your phone, okay? Just mute your phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay, thanks. All right. You listen to the Michael M. Hotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network, where knowledge is power. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to the Michael M. Hotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network, where knowledge is power. All right, that's Watoto from the Nile, the Black Wall Street song. Watoto from the Nile, the Black Wall Street song. Visit their website, watotofromthenile.com. Watotofromthenile.com. No, I'm sorry, Watoto .bandcamp.com is their website. WATOTO. Support those young sisters out of Baltimore. Watoto.bandcamp.com. In that video, the Black Wall Street song, that's on YouTube. Check that out. Okay. All right. On the line, we're speaking with Lauren Victoria Burke, managing editor of politics365.com. You saw her this morning on News One Now with Roland Martin. And good job once again this morning, Lauren. Um,
Thanks.
but we're speaking with her about the interview, about the article I shared with you all last night. Bernie versus Hillary, who's better for black voters? It's a very well balanced article, a lot of good information in it. I encourage people to check it out. It was written for theroot.com, theroot.com, so check that out. So let me ask you a question, Lauren. I went to HillaryClinton.com and read her platform there and read some about her background, et cetera, that they tout. And then also I went to BernieSanders.com and read his platform and read his background also. And what I want to do, let me see, I think I have it here. It's about 1 minute long. I want to play the campaign ad that Hillary Clinton has right now with Morgan Freeman. I want people to hear it, and I want to ask you some questions about it. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Just see. Let's cue this up. Okay, so that's Morgan Freeman. Okay, who's narrating this? Now, tell us what's the truth in this in South Carolina? I've heard she fought on behalf of youth and African American youth when it came to them being jailed with adults and fighting for legal aid in Arkansas, things like this. Kind of break this down for us, please.
Well, I mean, when she came out of law school, of course, she worked for the Legal Defense Fund, and that was fine. I remember not only this ad or from some of the things she's done on trail. But I remember reading she, in some way, investigated a school in Mississippi with regard to disparate treatment racially. So she had actually, Hillary Clinton had done some, I would say, hard work during the civil rights movement that has something to do with racial justice.
Okay.
I mean, the question for me, writing an article when we're dealing with somebody who wants to lead the federal government, is what have they done on the federal level?
Stand by, caller.
Not to say that what you've done in your personal life before that doesn't matter, but
Right.
in her case, because she has considerable time on the federal level, as does Bernie Sanders, that's what I was looking for. That's what I was looking at.
Right. When she was a senator, when she was a U.S. senator.
Right. She was a U.S. senator, and of course she was a U.S. senator during the time when stop and frisk in New York was huge, and didn't say anything about it. So stuff like that.
So hold on. Repeat that again. You said what now?
Well, stop and frisk in New York was raging.
Right.
From 2000 to 2014, when the lawsuit stopped it, and the fact that Mayor de Blasio, Bill de Blasio, showed up and really ended the policy or curtailed it. But the point is, when she was a U.S. senator, she didn't talk about it. So it's sort of like, is it a federal matter? Not really. It's a state and local, but still, you have federal lawmakers that comment on state and local, particularly when they violate the Constitution. They comment on state and local policy all the time, and Hillary Clinton did not comment on stop and frisk. So it's kind of a problem for me that didn't happen.
Right.
Although in her earlier life, she did do a lot of things with the Children's Defense Fund, which I'm not saying we should ignore that, but I'm trying to concentrate on more recent
exactly
things
because
that commercial did too.
Right, because when you are a U.S. senator, there are only 100 U.S. senators. Okay, so people understand there are two U.S. senators per state. Okay, unlike 435 members in the U.S. House of Representatives. So when you are a U.S. senator, you have more power than somebody in the U.S. House of Representatives from my perspective.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
And I was looking, and I'm trying to see, well, what bills did she sponsor? What did she speak out on when she was in the U.S. Senate? And I couldn't find anything. Okay. Now, just said we had a caller, but they dropped a call. Look, when you're call in, I got to put you on hold. Okay, because I don't have a producer anymore, so it's just me. So I'm gonna put you. I said, caller, stand by. I'm gonna put you on hold. And then I'm going to come to you in a couple minutes, 888-669-2281. So caller that called in, call back in. We'll try to get your get your question answered. Okay. You all right? Take a couple calls, Lauren?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I'm gonna go to the Bernie Sanders in just a minute here. But Children's Defense Fund. It was the Children's Defense Fund, right? Or League, Children's Defense League, right?
No, the Children's Defense Fund.
So Children's Defense Fund, right. Okay, what exactly was the Children's Defense Fund, and what did she do there?
Well, good question. Well, the Children's Defense Fund, of course, was started by Marion Wright Edelman, which is really an advocacy organization to protect children and focus on poverty, focus on any issue that would disproportionately impact children in the United States. I mean, so it just says the general mission of the Children's Defense Fund is just, of course, an organization that pushes public policy that helps children. My read of it, and this is just very thin read because I have not studied Hillary Clinton's work at the Children's Defense Fund. I'm just really basing this what I've heard her say. And I went to actually met her on Tuesday because she was at a rally here in Virginia. Near
Standby caller.
And she has said on the stump that she, of course, worked in her days after Yale Law School for the Children's Defense Fund in the South. So, and I don't in any way doubt that she did work for them and was very good at it and was very extensively involved.
Right.
But I'm not somebody who knows the details. I'll say that.
Children's Defense Fund. Okay. Let's go to the phone line just a second here, and we're coming up on a break. Okay. All right, Carlo, welcome to the Michael Imhotep Show. Tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Yeah, this is Jay from New York.
Jay from New York. Yeah, Jay from New York. Go ahead. We're coming up on a break in about a minute. Go ahead.
Oh man, I hope you hold me over.
Yeah, I'll hold you over. Just go ahead.
Well, let me just say this. right quick. I'm from New York State,
Okay.
and as Hillary Clinton was a senator for New York State, she really didn't do anything for New York State. Let's first of all be clear on that. Now, the reason why I'm calling is because yesterday I sent this beautiful sister, LV, tweet.
Lauren Victoria Burke.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
Sister Burke. I sent her a tweet
Mm-hmm.
asking her, what has Hillary Clinton done for black folk? She sent me back a tweet saying that she gave us a Sojourner Truth statue. And other than that, she couldn't really do anything because she was a legislator or something like that. Now let me reply to that remark.
Okay, hold on. Hey, Jay, reply on the other side of the break, man. We gotta go to break. I'm gonna hold you over. Stand by. All right. Lauren, just stand by, okay? We got to go to break.
Okay,
We'll
no
be back in
problem.
a few minutes.
No
Just mute your phone. All right, you listen to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network with Knowledge is Power. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network where knowledge is power. All right, we're speaking with Lauren Victoria Burke, managing editor of Politics365.com. We're talking about an article that she wrote, Bernie versus Hillary, who's better for black voters? And it's a very, very well-written article, well-balanced article out also. She's not telling you to vote for one over the other, but she's trying to present the facts and trying to present their record dealing with issues pertaining to the African American community. This particular article was written March 1st, yesterday, 2016, for theroot.com, ROOT, theroot.com. Looks like we lost Jay. Jay, call back in, 888-669-2281, 888-669-2281 is the call-in number. Okay, so Lauren, he said he was from New York, and he said you responded to his tweet saying that Hillary Clinton, she dedicated a Sojourner Truth statue or something like that. What was that?
Yeah, so Hillary Clinton was responsible, along with primarily Sheila Jackson Lee from Texas, Congresswoman from Texas, for getting the first black female bust statue in the U.S. Capitol, which was Sojourner Truth. And it was 2009. And Hillary Clinton was very involved in that. Not to say that this is like the biggest achievement in the world, but in a U.S. Capitol full of busts and statues of guys that, you know, many of whom are racist, it was actually a really big deal. So it was something that I can remember really well, because I remember going to the ceremony and I remember seeing Hillary Clinton standing there with I think Michelle Obama was there, and it was sort of a big deal. So, you know, Bay has got a point about, I'm from New York too, so I was paying particular attention to Hillary Clinton when she was in the Senate.
Right.
And I, you know, the Senate, when I met, there was sort of a discussion that we had on Twitter about how difficult it is for a singular legislator to get anything done in a legislative body. It's just not like being a governor or a mayor. And I do think, you know, I judge lawmakers differently based on what was happening when they were in the body. So if you were sitting in the majority, let's say, and you're a Democrat, and you're in the majority, I expect you to move something, at least through the body that you're in.
Right.
It may not get signed into law, but I do expect you to do something.
At least sponsor a bill. Do something.
Yeah. I mean, be a sponsor, be something. That's one of the problems with Bernie Sanders is that he hasn't co-sponsored things that are very easy to co-sponsor. But with regard to Hillary Clinton, you know, at least use your bully pulpit. You know, you're the former first lady. You're not just any old senator. So if she had gotten out there and stood up against stock interests, for example, everybody would have paid attention to that.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So it's just things, little things like that. If you can't legislate, at least use your voice. You know.
Right. Exactly.
But you know, she was in a sort of a tough spot. I think Bill Frist was the trade leader for part of the time she was there. She was in the minority, so it wasn't like she could just do anything. But you can at least speak. I mean, that's the least you can do.
Right. And I know this morning on News One Now, you talked about how, if I remember correctly, you said that neither one of them have a record when they were in the Senate. Neither one of them have a record sponsoring bills or pushing for issues pertaining to the African American community. Was that correct?
Yeah, I mean, they are the problem with Bernie Sanders, and this is why I probably should have added this a little bit more in the piece, is that, of course, he represents Vermont,
Right.
not the most racially diverse state going. She represents New York. Now, I'm expecting more from somebody who represents New York than somebody who represents Vermont.
Right.
But Brian, his civil rights record as a 21-year-old is a lot better than anybody who's ever run for president, ever, other than Jesse Jackson Sr.
Right.
So, I mean, you don't get arrested, at 21 years old in the early 60s, protesting, segregation. I mean, most people were not doing that. So, I mean, to me, that's huge. And I know there's sort of an attitude with some black supporters of Hillary Clinton of, why should we feel like we owe you Bernie Sanders? But it's a big deal whether somebody's black or white to be participating in something that is dangerous, where people have been killed,
Right.
At a time when it was most dangerous to participate in, and she's a Goldwater gal.
Right.
It's like, wait a minute, she's a Goldwater girl, and he's out getting arrested. So to me, that's a big deal.
Right, and you talk about that in the article. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's just things like that. The context, the time that they lived in, I think, is very important. The fact that not only, I know a lot of people argue on her side that, hey, she can't be held responsible for her husband's stuff, but she wasn't sitting silently baking cookies. She wasn't that type. She's not Laura Bush, okay? She was out advocating for the Clinton crime bill. That's a little bit different than baking cookies and reading to children, with some first ladies do, or, Jackie Kennedy redecorated the White House. Well, Hillary Clinton wasn't that type of first lady. She was a policy-involved first lady, so it's different.
Exactly. Okay, now explain to people exactly what was a Goldwater girl. I know you referenced that and I'm familiar with Barry Goldwater, but what was a Goldwater girl?
Well, my understanding of it was a group of young people who were supporting the candidacy of Barry Goldwater.
Okay.
There was probably more to it than that.
Stand by caller.
I wasn't alive at the time.
Right.
I'm not, I'm not well versed, other than to say that I know that Hillary Clinton bragged about being a Goldwater girl.
Right.
That's, of course, problematic because his candidacy is really the official beginning of the Southern strategy for the Republican Party. It's a problem.
Right, the Southern strategy to win the Southern vote again, especially the Southern white male vote. Okay, let's go. Let's go back to the phone line. This is Jay. Okay, Jay, go ahead with your comment because we remember your question. Go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, well, basically, she was saying in regards to Sojourner Truth. That to me is like Martin Luther King being on the Washington Monument next to past American presidents who were nothing but rapists, murderers, thieves, and liars. My position is this. I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. And the reason why I'm going to vote for Donald Trump is because I think that Hillary Clinton, who will be the nominee for the presidency, is absolutely nothing more than a warmonger, a liar, a dishonest woman, a person who has done things against the African American community that if we really want to study the history, it's no way in God's green earth we could vote for. Now, let me finish this one point. Donald Trump is really no better than her, other than this one thing. I think because the Republican Party hates Hillary Clinton so much, they, even if she becomes president, will never allow her to do anything. Now, when we talk about Donald Trump, the black community got to think about this and understand this. His biggest platform is that he wants to create jobs, that he's going to send illegals back, that he's going to build the wall, and that he's going to give jobs. Now, think about this. He's not going to be able to do any of those things. Let's be clear on that. That's all talk. But the one thing he may be able to do is give jobs to American people and make sure that the laws that people like Hillary Clinton and Sanders and the other legislators allow the immigrants to escape, he will enforce. So if that happens, that will allow black people to get a hold of jobs along with white people to get jobs, and for these illegals who are here taking away jobs to be behind us.
Okay.
That's the only reason I would vote for him.
All right. Thanks for calling in. Okay. We're coming up on the break here. Lauren, you got a few more minutes, Lauren?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We're coming up on the break. When we come back, I want to go back to, if you want to respond to that, you can respond on the other side of the break, but I want to go back to the article, because you talked about Clinton has a specific funding plan for historically black colleges and universities, and Sanders does not. And what's more important than to me, what's even more important than their background, what they've done in the past, things like that, is the agenda that African Americans are pushing to the candidates and how they match up to our agenda. That's to me, that's the most important thing. And what can we exchange tangible for our vote? Because all their backgrounds are checkered. Donald Trump, I listen to Trump. I watch between 6 and 10 hours of MSNBC a day. Donald Trump doesn't have plans on how to do what he's saying. And he says that he's going to bring jobs back. He doesn't tell you how. He says African Americans are going to, he's going to win the African American vote because he's going to get them jobs. He doesn't say how he's going to overcome discrimination in the workplace when it comes to hiring. Okay. And he doesn't address any other issues pertaining to African Americans. When we talk about Black Lives Matter, he says all lives matter, as if somehow that balances out Black Lives Matter. So we're going to get into that on the other side of the break. Stand by. You listen to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network, where knowledge is power. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to the Michael Imhotep Show right here on the Empowerment Radio Network, where knowledge is power. All right, that is Miracles by Arrested Development. Miracles by Arrested Development. Visit their website, arresteddevelopmentmusic.com, arresteddevelopmentmusic.com. You can sign up for their email blast. You can follow their tour dates. You can download their new music. Also, arresteddevelopmentmusic.com. We have to support conscious hip hop. All right, if you're just tuning in, we're speaking with Lauren Victoria Burke, managing editor of Politics365.com. You see her frequently on News One Now with Roland Martin on TV One. Be sure to watch it every day, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Set your DVR. Also, you can listen to the podcast of News One Now with Roland Martin at RolandMartinReports.com, RolandMartinReports.com, and you can watch clips of it at NewsOne.com, NewsOne.com also. We're talking about an article that Lauren wrote early yesterday morning, Bernie versus Hillary, who's better for black voters? And she's looking at the facts. She's not telling you who to vote for, but she's trying to lay out their history and lay out facts of what they've done recently and in the past also. Okay, Lauren, right before the break, I was talking about what's more important, I think, is the agenda that African Americans are pushing to these candidates, et cetera. Did you want to respond?
Well, there is no agenda. I mean, there really.
Well, some people some groups have an agenda, like 1 million conscious black voters and contributors. But go ahead.
Right. I mean, but there's no
main national agenda, big national agenda.
Well, there's not even. I mean, there are meetings that have been had with the candidates, like, of course, DeRay and We the Protesters and Netta met with Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. They have not met with any of the Republicans that I know of.
Right.
And then you had, of course, the typical Sharpton Morial group meeting. I think that was, last week or 2 weeks ago. I was at that.
Mm-hmm.
But
you say you were there? You said you were there?
Yeah, they had it in Washington, D.C. Well, they had the Hillary Clinton meeting in New York, but the Bernie Sanders one was in Washington, D.C., and I was there.
Okay.
And, it was a bunch of black leaders sitting around, Ben Crump, Morial, Sharpton, Melanie Campbell, and they all had a different thing to talk about, Cheryl and Eiffel. And so, obviously, every different group has a different topic set, So Ben Crump wanted to talk about police brutality. Cheryl and Eiffel talked about voting. Sharpton talked about a bunch of stuff. And then, there's no what I would call a very specific sort of ask off the bat. Montreal presented the agenda that they presented back in 2013 to the president after his second inaugural, which was a very late agenda that had been presented in 2009. But Sharpton stalled it until 2013. That doesn't make any sense. You know, I mean, you have your leverage before.
You said Sharpton did what? The Black Agenda in January 2013. Yeah, they met, right. And then they actually pushed it to the president. It was like August of 2013. Right. Yeah.
Right. Well, it was somewhere near the anniversary of the 50th March on Washington, so it must have been
the 2014.
That should have been 2013, but I don't think it was 13. It felt like it was 12, and they waited till after. They waited till after the second inaugural to actually hand it to the president.
Right. Right.
The point is, there's no here are 4 or 5 things that we must have type of conversation. You know. And if we don't get those 4 or 5 things, we're not running around and doing any sort of support or anything. Now, of course, the other problem is because these are 501c organizations, they can't do a formal endorsement as an organization anyway. They can do an individual endorsement, though. So, I mean, the point is there is no, I mean, when you talk to, like this week, I think it was last week, a bunch of Latino advocates got together and they announced, they announce what they're thinking and their agenda and their thoughts. And, it's usually centered around immigration reform. I mean, they have like 1 or 2 things that are right off the top.
Exactly.
And we don't have that. We have like a lot of organizations, but no real. Now, I get it. We have a lot of problems. It's a little bit more complex with us, to say the least. But you got to come up with something, and you got to be organized, and it's got to be federal policy. A lot of the things that Ben Trump talks about, for instance, with Bernie Sanders, is state and local policy. Now, that's not to say he shouldn't say anything at the meeting, but I'm just saying a lot of that is state and local. So a federal actor, it can't do much about that other than nod their head and be agreeable. So that there's a lot of problems in trying to get everybody together. Is like herding cats, and I get it. It's not easy, but we're still not there yet.
I think a lot of it is really going to come from grassroots organizations because the civil rights organizations, they're too tied to white money. They're heavily funded by corporate America, and people don't have to take my word for this. All you have to do is go to their official websites, go to their national websites, and look at their annual report. And you can see all the corporations that donate to them. So I think they're too close to white money, and it's really going to come from grassroots organizations who are pushing their own agendas, grassroots issues, pushing their own agendas. But there has to be an ask. There has to be a concrete ask, asking the right people. And you're right. A lot of times we'll take state issues to the federal, to U.S. Elected officials or to the president, and they're really more state issues, and don't understand that difference also. So, but you have to have an agenda, because when you look at these other groups, they push an agenda. They have a clear-cut, concrete agenda. And they keep the pressure up. And if you look at the Hispanic community, they kept the pressure up on President Obama. They weren't concerned about being able to go to the White House over 100 times or being able to play basketball with President Obama at the White House, things like this. They were fighting to get something tangible in exchange for their support. And then that forced him to do the executive order. That forced him to do it, and they kept the pressure up. There were marches, there were protests. People stayed in their lane, but protested in different ways, and forced him to do the executive order. Let me ask you a question here. Now, in the article on page 1 of it, you talk about Hillary Clinton has a specific funding plan for historically black colleges and universities. Sanders does not. What, to the best of your memory, what is her funding plan, and why is it that Sanders does not?
I have no idea. I mean, I can't imagine why you would not have something with regard to historically black colleges and universities, although after the meeting that they had with that Bernie Sanders had with the black leaders 2 weeks ago, I asked one of them in there, was there anything about historically black colleges? They said there was a plan, but you can't find it anywhere on his website.
On his website.
He doesn't really talk about it.
Right.
Her plan is a fixed amount of money, a fixed amount of funding for black colleges and universities. Well, that's a heck of a lot more than what we've gotten from President Obama, which has been a disaster for 8 years for HBCUs.
Right.
I mean, President Obama, his first year in office, cut their funding. Like by $40 million, and then a bunch of Democrats in the House had to scurry and replenish the money. I mean, so
but then also the Parent Plus loan. Also, don't forget 2011 the change to the Parent Plus loan program that looked back at the credit going back 7 years, and went back looking back into the recession, and 28,000 African American HBCU students had to drop out, and it cost the HBCUs tens of millions of dollars, and you had some presidents of HBCUs that were contemplating suing the Obama administration also.
And they should have sued. In fact, they were looking for a student to sue over it, and I think they found a student, but they were too afraid to pull the trigger, which has been the problem with so many black organizations during President Obama's presidency. They're afraid to, tick off the constituents of President Obama, so they don't really advocate as strongly as they would if the president was white.
Right.
So this is sort of a problem. But, that move cost HBCUs collectively millions and millions of dollars.
Yes.
Arnie Duncan, the Education Secretary, apologized for it. Then we had the president with his 2-year free community college plan, or 2-year free college plan, which is the exact same plan, as far as I can tell. Bernie Sanders' plan is getting criticized by Jim Clyburn and Rep. Richmond, Senator Richmond. I'm like, that's the same thing that the president said last year.
Right.
So it's sort of like, of course, that would hurt HBCUs. If you had a choice between an HBCU and free 2 years of community college, you're going to choose free 2 years of community college. So that to me was another sort of dumb idea that the White House came up with. They checked with absolutely nobody in the HBCU advocacy community, and it blew up on them. And that was another thing that House Democrats had to fix, moving forward. I mean, clearly you combine that with the fact the president told members of the Black Caucus to their face last February 2015, during their annual meeting with the BBC and the president, that, he didn't want to continue to, put any more money into institutions, HBCUs, because they don't graduate enough people, and, the sort of attitude of putting, good money after bad, or bad money after good, whatever.
He's had an indifference. He's had an indifference some to HBCUs, and I know you talked about the fact that he doesn't have anybody really in his cabinet, who graduated from an HBCU, who's there to really advocate on behalf of HBCUs.
Well, funny, he has Jay Johnson, who's a Morehouse fan, but he's a fairly recent addition to the cabinet.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have anybody in his immediate family, and he just seems to have this idea that everybody should just act like they're Harvard with some sort of multi-billion-dollar endowment. Well, that's Harvard. That's like 5 schools,
Right.
He doesn't seem to understand the basic mission of HBCUs, the basic history. I know he knows it because he's one of the smartest presidents we've ever had. But he doesn't act like he knows it when it comes to policy.
And really understand the impact that it has. How many, they graduate about 80% of African American judges, and something like 50% of the teachers, and a large percentage of the attorneys and the scientists and doctors, things like this. I know Yvette Carnell has written about that in the past for BreakingBrown.com. So. Okay. We're gonna wrap this up here quickly. I just want to ask you this last question. I know that during Bill Clinton's 8 years in office, he created 23.1 million jobs in his presidency, and we know that had a lot to do with the economy, and why some African Americans have somewhat fond memories of the Clinton era. They the omnibus crime bill was terrible, things like that, but you also had a better economy, and we know that he, if I remember correctly, he increased taxes on the wealthy. I remember there were empowerment zones because Detroit, there were empowerment zones here in Detroit, and I knew one of my former college professors had some businesses in the empowerment zone, so it generated a lot of revenue. But what impact does Silicon Valley have on the creation of those millions of jobs, things like that? Was there a relationship between the boom in Silicon Valley and those millions of jobs that were created?
Yeah, I mean, the reason that the economy was so good during Bill Clinton was, of course, the tech boom during the time he was in office. But, you know, I know people sort of try to wave away that, but the Clinton was successful because of the tech boom, but still, the point is, during his presidency, Clinton was successful, and I think he should get credit for it. I think a president should get credit and demerit for anything that happened on their watch, even if they didn't directly have anything to do with it. Like when the Berlin Wall fell, I didn't think Reagan had anything to do with that, but I'll give him credit for it because it happened when he was president. And it doesn't matter to me that, you know, Bill Clinton may have had nothing to do with the tech boom, but yes, jobs were created in mass during his presidency because of it.
Absolutely. This article here from Yvette Carnell, October 26, 2015, breakingbrown.com. Record low number of black doctors after Obama cut dollars to HBCUs that produce 85% of them.
Wow, you got to send that to me.
Okay. And in the article, and I'm going to put this on Twitter right now, one of the things she says in the article, HBC, and she graduated from Howard, by the way. I've interviewed her a few times here on the show. HBCUs constitute 3% of America's colleges, but produce 20% of black graduates, 50% of black public school teachers and lawyers, 80% of black judges, and 90% of blacks with bachelor's of arts degrees in the STEM field: science, technology, STEM, science, technology, math, and what was it? Education, science, technology, and I forgot the other thing in math. Okay, this is what HBCUs produce. So why would you cut the funding to them? Okay. And so this is and this is why this is the thing. This is the problem with Trump. Trump has no education program. He said African Americans are going to love him because he's going to bring job backs. I haven't heard anything about education. I haven't heard anything about how he's going to help us recover 53% of our wealth that was lost. Haven't heard anything on criminal justice, except he said that police should have more freedom and more authority. And when somebody says Black Lives Matter, he says all lives matter. I haven't heard any policies when it comes to demilitarizing the police department, or his thoughts on special prosecutors when it comes to police shooting, anything like that. So
yeah. Well, we've had Republican presidents, though, that didn't talk about the HBCU issue and came in and did better on HBCUs than some of the Democrats. One of the problems with the Democratic Party taking black voters for granted, there's this sort of attitude of, we don't really have to do anything for you because you're going to vote for us anyway. That's what the Obama administration did with black voters for 8 years, which is why the president, I think, is very casual about HBCUs. Then again, the other half of that equation is he wasn't getting any real pressure from black advocates.
Right.
He would have been blowing him up figuratively on that issue.
Right.
So you'd be surprised. Donald Trump or some Republican that you're not thinking about might get in there, and they tend to overcompensate because they know nobody's expecting anything from them on black issues. So they get in there and they say, you know what, I'm going to fool everybody. I'm going to do stuff on black issues. It's just a very ironic thing of human nature.
Right.
It can happen.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, look, I just tweeted that. I tagged you in it. So you should get that article also. All right, look, let people know how they can read your articles. I know you got to get out of here. Let people know how they can read your articles and follow you on social media.
Yeah, I write a lot. I mean, I write for NBC Black. You can see that at NBCnews.com. I write for TheRoot.com. I write for Politics 365, and I have a blog on the Congressional Black Caucus, and I'm about to start a wire service. So I'll tell you about that later.
Okay.
And I'm on Twitter at LVBURKE.
LVBURKE. Check her out, Lauren Victoria Burke. Watch her on News One Now with Roland Martin also. Okay, Lauren, have a great night, okay? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, you too. Yeah,
okay.
Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye. All right, check out this article that I just posted. Also, and I put it on my Twitter page. I'll put it on Facebook as well. It's interesting when you say something. I find something very interesting. I will post an article that is factual that criticizes President Obama, and some African Americans will just lose their minds. Don't even read the article. I can tell you what the response is going to be. He's the president of all the people, not just black people. Is that right? All the people have made progress during his 8 years, except African Americans, because we didn't push in a real tangible agenda. Okay. And if you read Tavis Smiley's new book, I talked about this Saturday in my presentation. If you read Tavis Smiley's new book, Covenant 10 Years Later, we have lost ground in every major economic category over the last 10 years. Most of that under President Obama's administration. Now, Tavis is not saying, and I'm not saying all of it is President Obama's fault. Part of it is, okay? But part of it is our fault because we didn't push tangible agendas and stay on top of it and put pressure on the president to deliver something tangible in exchange for our vote, okay? You receive not because you ask not. Okay, this article, record low number of black doctors after Obama cut dollars to HBCUs that produce 85% of them. I know we went past the break here. We were running short on time, and I know Lauren had to go. I know it's late and she gets up early in the morning. I don't even know she meant to be on. She may be doing interviews tomorrow morning. So when you listen to the podcast of the show, we just recorded right through the break. When you listen to the podcast of the show, that extra interview will be there, okay, during the break. Okay, so this is from October 26, 2015. Yvette Carnell, breakingbrown.com. A disturbing NPR, National Public Radio report, found that there were fewer black medical doctors in 2014 than in 1978. A disturbing NPR report found that there were fewer black medical doctors in 2014 than 1978. This news comes after controversy over the Obama administration's defunding of HBCUs, which produces 85% of black doctors. From NPR, while more black men graduated from college over the past few decades, the number of black men applying to medical school has dropped. In 1978, you had 1,410 African-American men who applied to medical school, and 542 ended up enrolling. Okay, so 1,410 applied, 542 ended up enrolling. Okay, it's about 40%. In 2014, both those numbers were down. 1,337 African-American men applied, and 515 enrolled. So you had more African-American men enrolling in medical school in 1978 than you had in 2014. Now, HBCUs not only graduate 85% of black doctors, but as the New Republic observed, which is a publication, the New Republic, their value is even greater than that. HBCUs value is even greater than that. Okay, so HBCUs graduate 85% of African American doctors. Okay, HBCUs constitute 3% of America's colleges overall, but produce 20% of African American graduates, 50% of African American public school teachers and attorneys, 80% of black judges, and 90% of African Americans with bachelor's of arts degrees in the STEM fields. Okay. Science, technology, engineering, and math. Engineering is the E. Even with the value of HBCUs, Obama's nearly hostile attitude toward them, and a change to plus loans, that's what I was just talking about, the change in the Parent Plus loans that took place in 2011. Look that up. And a change to plus loans that cost the schools millions brought HBCU leaders to the brink of suing the first black president. As Breaking Brown previously reported, Obama stunned CBC members when they brought up the topic of HBCUs during a meeting with the president. Quote, in other words, he didn't show much empathy for struggling HBCUs. It was like, show me the numbers, and if the numbers aren't where they need to be, that's it. It was a somewhat callous view of the unique niche HBCUs fill. Representative Johnson, a graduate of Clark Atlanta University said. Hampton University professor William Harvey noted that support for black colleges is down under the first black president. Quote, we are not consulted when it comes to policy changes and decisions impacting in a major way the institutions on whose behalf we are to advocate, end quote, Harvey said in February 2015. Overall, support to black colleges is down. Okay. Now, this is the president of Hampton University, William Harvey, saying this. This is not Michael Imhotep saying this. This is what he said. The consequences of that lack of support are now becoming crystal clear. All right. So check out this article. We put it on our Twitter page. I'm going to put it on my Facebook fan page. Now, watch the comments of some people. Watch the comments of some African Americans. They're just going to lose their damn minds. I'm telling you right now. I know what's going to happen. I've seen this happen before. We have almost 750,000 followers on our fan page. I'm going to post this factual information that people can research, and some Negroes just going to lose their damn minds. I'm telling you. Okay, but we'll post it. We're coming up on a break here. You know, today on, let's see, okay, where are we here? Because we're way over time. And some of this is going to be on